the Ripple. Rock the Ripple. Rock the Ripple. The Rock the Ripple podcast with Narita McInnes.
Let's do this. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rock the Ripple podcast. I'm your host, Narita McInnes. It is so awesome to be here with you as always. And as always, today is another very awesome day because I am joined by another amazing guest. He is a father, a partner, MC, producer, sound engineer, and DJ who has a way with words, is very well read, and has lived many lifetimes in just one lifetime with many a story to tell. There is, of course, so much more to this awesome human. He is the one and only Ben Jamieson. Ben, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. That is definitely an introduction.
I thought you'd like it, Ben.
Yep, very much so.
It's so cool to connect with you again. We've connected a little while back and we've had some good chinwags and things to share. And I thought it'd be great to have you on the podcast just to chat all things, everything. But before we just sort of go wherever spirit takes us, I thought I would just get you to maybe just do a bit more of an introduction for people who don't know you. Who is Ben Jamieson?
All right. Like you say, I have definitely lived a number of lives already. Music's always been the passion that's been at the center. And up to about sort of 22, 23, I worked as a DJ and hyped MC. Life took me in a different trajectory. Sort of went full circle, really. I had a career, worked in logistics and workforce management, worked for big companies like One Steel, that sort of thing. Was really good at that, made good money. Did not make me happy at all. Ended up full circle, came back around. In 2022, I was working in military construction. And then I'd been shifted onto a new job and something happened and I got hurt and I just took the plunge. I've been doing music on the side, just as a passion for so long. Well, actually, no, if I really go back, it really goes back to 2019. I had some pretty traumatic breakup with someone, and I won't go into that. But in February of 2020, just before all the stuff started, I bumped into an old friend of mine from high school, actually, and turns out he was a producer, and he'd been producing for about 15 years. Something just clicked. It really was time for me to get off my ass. There's a lot I need to get out, and I really hadn't embraced that time is short, and that if I don't start, it's never going to get to where, like, I'm not going to share what I need to share. And that kicked off. We worked together for a while, did an EP, which I was very proud of. Unfortunately, due to, we'll call, creative differences, we ended up parting ways. And then I linked up with another rapper and producer and started working on another project. And again, due to creative differences, we parted ways. So I went, all right, I need to upskill because clearly I'm relying on other people when I want to be able to have all the skills myself and then bring people in. So I started studying sound production. I did a Cert 4 and I'm almost finished my diploma now. But things have really, really started to take off this year.
Yeah. And for people who might be saying, well, what kind of music is it? Is it hip hop? Is it, what kind of stuff are you doing? Like, you're doing a range of everything?
Look, I'm doing my take on Aussie hip hop, but I enjoy and mess with all sounds, all instruments. I don't think there's any rules. There used to be lines between genres, but as you know, being a muso creative yourself, that those lines have really broken down, and now there's just so much that, and I think it's awesome because it's really sort of let the creativity become much freer.
Yeah.
I mean, I still definitely enjoy the traditional 90s boom bap hip hop. That's where my heart is, but I'm open to anything.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're an awesome MC as well. So you can freestyle and you can do all that sort of stuff too. Like I'm always amazed when people could do that because it takes a lot. And just to get up on stage and do that too, because you get a free flow and say all this stuff. Obviously it sounds better than say all this stuff. Clearly, see, not
Yeah.
MC. I do try sometimes when I'm in the car by myself, see if I can have some things roll out, but I guess it's good to have ideas and that sort of stuff. Like you're probably always thinking of different things to say and things that sort of work. And it also would be coming from your experience and how your take on the world, and that would influence your lyrics and your words and everything like that too. Does that sound about right?
Very much so. I'm more of your, how do the boys describe it? It's sort of more of a spiritual MC. I don't waste words in my verses. I want to make, some party tunes and that sort of thing that you just bounce to and is a good time. But I don't like to waste words. And I feel like I can share quite a bit of knowledge and do it in a really enjoyable way because I am very well read and, there is literally millions of words that have gone into me. And I've worked out I'm pretty good at having them come out the other way in a good fashion.
Yeah. And you are very well read. I mean, you're someone who has read like 4 books a night or a week or something from memory when we were chatting last time. And there's so much that you know. And I loved our conversation because we could just go anywhere and we could talk about anything. And I think when you have taken in so much information, but also have had quite a worldly experience as well, there's so much there. There's so much wisdom for you to be able to share. And I also feel like it's something that with that imparts compassion as well on your part, and people that who have walked many different lives in one lifetime. There's so much there to share. Do you find that? And can you talk a bit about some of the books that you've read and what you've gained from it and all that sort of stuff?
All right. Yeah, like you said, 4 novels a night wasn't unusual for me when I was a kid. It was my way of dealing with my situation at the time. It was my escapism.
Yeah.
I read the whole school library by about halfway through year 5, alphabetically, just because that's just what you do.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And Mrs. Cox, the librarian, was really good to me. I wasn't old enough to get a public library card, and so she used to bring me in books from the public library. I've been very lucky to come across some really important books at the most synchronistic time in my life, and look, see, I'm getting the tingles already.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
When that happens, you can level up in a way that, I mean, the education system and all the traditional indoctrination that we have, that keeps you at a very, very low frequency. But if you come across these books at the right time in your life, your frequency just multiplies. And I mean, right now I'm getting goosebumps. I love it because when we talk about this stuff, and it used to be, and I mean, I'm not even that old, but it used to be there was a much smaller group of people that you could talk openly about this. But I have noticed that there are some, and I think that's also through positive things I've done with my life, but I have noticed there are these people now coming around that you can talk like this, and it invokes an experience that, a lot of people unfortunately miss out on. Actually, I did actually put a couple of books out here with me because anyone who's watching, I won't go into the books too much, but I genuinely would, if anyone's seeking to maybe try and break down, and this is my perspective on the world. It's just my opinion, my experience, but my rap name is Noetiks, which is Noetiks, but The Noetic Universe by Dean Radin. All right. That is about the power of the mind. And we're not talking conspiracy theory or anything like that. It is fact. There is an institute But mainstream science and mainstream media will not talk about it because it literally debunks all the indoctrination that we're given, that we aren't gods of our world and that we aren't capable of anything we put our mind to. With the right language, we are capable of achieving anything. So I'd highly recommend that. Another one, if you want to look at the religions of the world. Now, I don't judge anyone who's religious. I really enjoy the fact that religion gives hope, and we need hope.
Yeah.
But if you want to see the similarities between the stories of the religions, because they're all there. I mean, did you know Buddha's birthday is on December 25th? Someone else's birthday too, I think. Like the story, the 12 disciples, the sword is very interesting. See, all the deities from my own research, all the deities were actually warriors of royal blood, but they carried this particular sword, and the sword's referenced all through history. Excalibur, there's been a few other terms for it, but the sacred mushroom and the cross, this here, oof. I'm just going to say that I'm not going to go too into it because I could talk for 5 hours just on this book. But if people are looking, you can still get copies, which is really good. And there's one more which I really doubt you'll find a copy. This is called "Behold a Pale Horse" by William Cooper.
Yeah.
You know the book?
No, I've got the PDF, not the book. So I'm amazed you've got the book. Yeah.
I've got, and it's even got, it's an original, so it's still got the breakdown of the trilateral connection and all the families
Wow.
through politics that Bill put together. Now, Bill, he worked in naval intelligence for the US for a very long time, specifically on submarines, and withdrew from active duty and then withdrew from the armed forces because he couldn't deal with the fact that no one was talking about how many UFOs they interacted with. And then he decided to write a book and try and publish it. And attempts were made on his life, attempts were made on his family's life. And he ended up printing, I think it was 20,000 copies himself, that he set himself broke doing it. And I was lucky enough to come across this 2001, I think, and it has been a very treasured piece that I keep with me and I bring up with anyone that I have deep conversations with. I love to bring that book up because when you've got a perspective that speaks from inside the US military giant and to have been, a cog in that system, to then turn around and want to expose so much of what's going on that we're told, well, actually up until the last year or two, we were told it was all conspiracy theories. But funnily enough, there's so much now that's coming out that it blows me away. Like we used to sit in sheds and all that sort of thing and talk about this stuff like, oh, I wish we could find, evidence on this and that. And, oh, I read this and saw this here. And now they're just rolling it out. No, that's real. That's real. That's real. Yep. You were right about that one.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's just crazy the time we're in. But do you feel like we totally came here for this time to see all of this stuff sort of come to light and become more out there, that people are just seeing it and it's, well, quote unquote, normal?
Oddly enough, I had a confidence the whole way along. It was like the information that I was ingesting. I knew, I just got that feeling. I'm like, no, this is real. I feel I'm honored that I'm here at this time. It's such a strange time in history. But I'm honored to be here.
Yeah, I am as well. I think it's going to get stranger too. I think it's going to get much crazier. And we will need to be the trees in the storm and be able to flow with all the stuff that sort of starts to unravel and unfold. I think, but it is an exciting time too, isn't it? And there's just, I mean, there's so much. I don't even know where to go right now because I know there's so much that you know. I'm like, what do I talk about? What do I talk about? But yeah, what's on your heart at the moment that you want to share?
Well, since you were talking about that it's going to get weirder, I mean, we can talk about Bluebeam.
Mm,
It when the holograms start appearing, in the sky, and I mean, because that's how they're going to roll out the second half of this. I
mm,
mean, they've heightened the fear level and they've tested the boundaries on what they can really push us into.
yeah,
The next is the polarization against an off-world enemy, because then they can centralize all the power and also, the digital IDs and the digital currency and all that sort of thing. It'll be like back in the Roman days where they say, "Oh, it's just temporary. It's until we
mm,
deal with this, this enemy that we're
yeah,
all polarized against."
yeah,
Except once the changes are made, we all know they never go backwards.
like taxes.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing because I mean, as we're recording this, it's we're in early November, and I think there's a lot. I mean, even in Australia, that is being foreseen and to be unfolding, and what it actually looks like, I don't know, but there's going to be, like you said, blue beam holograms. There's Jew things. I don't know whether I can say it on YouTube, so whatever. But all these
So
different
you can
things.
say the Zionists, I think, and get away with it.
Maybe, maybe, who knows? But maybe, what is it? Paint your rooftop blue and you'll be okay in certain areas, that sort of stuff.
It's so interesting, isn't it? I mean,
Mm,
direct energy weapons, I know, they've been installed on naval boats for about 20 years.
yeah.
It's very hard to believe anything really that you see that's
Mm,
media reported.
yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if that's how it rolled out in Hawaii,
Mm,
because a lot of the real estate that got damaged was owned by it. It hadn't been passed on because obviously Hawaii is a hub for rich people
mm,
that are from the US, but the locals had held on to quite a large portion of real estate that was worth billions.
yeah. Yeah.
And apparently that was all that was knocked out during the fires.
Yeah. I mean, and there's so many things going on. There's so many things, but I mean, and I know we've talked about this already when we've caught up before, but like I can't shake the notion. Like I said, it's like this. We've come here for this time, and there's so much unfolding, and there's so much opportunity as well for us to grow and to be able to step into our power without being squeezed. We don't know how powerful we are because we don't have the opportunity to be courageous or to step into our power or to be all of those things. So it's almost like even though some of these things are really crazy and shit, it's also giving us that opportunity to see how powerful we are. Do you feel that as well?
1,000%.
Mm.
You literally took. So there's some bars that I'm releasing a song for my son. Oh, by the way, oh wow, I missed that from the start. I wanted to do it at the start. Hey, Sebastian, if you're watching, I love you very much. I miss you. We will be united. Your song is being released within the next 10 days. I promise you that.
Hey, Sebastian.
Yeah, that's my son. I haven't
Yeah.
seen him in 18 months. And anything I do now digitally, I want to put something in there for him
Yeah.
just in case he comes across it. I mean, he turned 9 last week, so
Mm,
he's of that area where they're just immersed.
mm, yeah. Yeah. Well, happy birthday, mate. We hope you're having a good one if you're watching this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But you were saying, so you're releasing a song. So basically some of what I was saying said you kicked off something in the song, or no?
It did. And I'm having this block. It's really interesting because I can remember the bars after, but you were talking about being challenged.
Mm,
So it's life's a beautiful passage. Those capable, the ones who are challenged. Your mind shapeable, all journeys are valid. Start your day affirming goals using positive language.
mm. Love it. Love it. I can't wait to hear it. When's it going to be released, by the way?
I'm going to polish off because I've already mixed it and everything. The last thing I got to do is my hype layer, and I've just got to polish that off. And you put it through DistroKid, and it takes between 2 and 5 days. So yeah, probably a week.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Awesome. Well, it might be after this goes live, but send it to me and then I'll share it on my Instagram. And so I can put it on there so people can have a listen. Oh, and I can add it to the description as well when it's ready to rock too. So I can put that in after.
Nice. Thank you.
So I think people will love to hear those lyrics. That's the thing. It's so cool. I love chatting to you because like I know that you're with the words that you're using and the message that you're spreading. It's the same that I'm doing, but in a different way. Like we're here to, like I said before, step into our power, be all that we came here to be, to remove the layers of the shit that isn't really us and step fully into that. And I love that that's what you do with your music and pretty much anything you do as well.
Thank you. I very much appreciate that. Yeah, look, this track is. I don't do anything by halves, and it was a vessel for me to share some knowledge and wisdom to my son specifically, but also the message, because I actually use quite a bit of cuts from Jordan Peterson in it.
Oh yeah.
In particular, where he's talking about young boys learning that there should actually be a monster and then learn how to control that monster because of the confidence that it instills in a young boy that I am capable. And well, young boys or girls, but I'm talking about my son. So specifically young boys, the difference in the adult that they grow into, if they are given confidence to achieve anything. Like I got to spend 7.5 years with him and seeing what he was capable of because he knew that dad was there and that I encouraged it. From like 18 months old, he was climbing across a rock wall at Summerton Park where I lived. And like other parents are freaking out. And I'm just sitting there watching him going, I was encouraging him. I'm there if he is going to hurt himself or anything like that. But you just saw what he was capable of, and people were like, their jaws were dropping that this 18-month-old kid is like rock climbing, and that's how I've encouraged him from birth. I used to take him to the barbers every 2 weeks, and there was a wall that goes between the barbers and the next business, and this wall was an 8-foot concrete wall, and he'd climb along the front. And then climb up onto this wall and be running back and forth along it. And everyone else is going, are you sure he's going to be all right? I'm like, he's perfectly fine. He never fell or anything like that. And I mean, even if he had this one, actually, I'm glad this come up. You don't see kids with casts anymore, do you? You know how when we were growing up, there was kids everywhere with casts because we did all this shit. We were outside running around, falling out of trees, doing dumb shit, throwing rocks at each other and all of that. And it was another podcast I was watching. Someone was talking about this, that now that we're the generation that have kids and you go to the school pickups and everything, you don't see kids with casts anymore. And it's because parents have been, through the fear that media has saturated us with, parents have now passed that fear onto their kids where their kids aren't game enough to do anything, which means they're not getting hurt. And I mean, how do we learn? We learn from mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah. And something you said too when you were sharing that, it's building confidence. And is that something like, because I mean, I know for myself, and I know a lot of people would feel if when we're feeling confident, we go for it. We're more courageous, but sometimes you don't get confidence until you're doing the courageous things. And a lot of people have had their confidence squashed, especially growing up, different things said to them and that sort of stuff. Do you think that that's sort of something that's really also put a fire in your belly in your own life as well too, to want to make a difference there?
I've had a very unique experience with fear. Unfortunately, I grew up in a household where I had a very toxic, very abusive father and an absolutely amazing mother who didn't know what was going on through no fault of her own. When I had a fear when I was a child because of what I was going through, I would tackle it head on. So I remember, I think I was about 10, when we're on the farm, and I knew I was afraid of the dark. I still had a bit of a fear about being afraid of the dark. So I used to sneak out of my room in the middle of the night and run around in the paddocks, imagining monsters chasing me. And eventually the fear just disappeared. It dissipated because I'd challenged it head on. Used to have a little bit of a thing with spiders. Now I've got a tarantula in my lounge room. Any fear I've ever had, I've tackled it head on, and it's leveled me up. It really has, because again, going back to my childhood, I've been given a difficult set of keys around my confidence and my self-worth. And I think the way that I've tackled my fears have really helped to sort of counter that. I'm still my harshest critic, and I wouldn't say I'm the one that holds me back, but I still have to regulate myself on those healthy habits and that positive self-talk. And I know how good it is for you, and yet I still have to make myself do it.
Yeah.
But the benefits are, they're irrefutable.
Yeah, they are, aren't they? They are. And I think that's a challenge for all of us, because we've always got something that we're working on. We've always got those things, and sometimes those voices will come into our head and start saying the shit that isn't supportive. We're going to go, hey, mate, that's not me anymore, but thank you for trying to keep, and really, because those voices are they're either entities trying to come in through a crack, or it's just your old self saying, trying to keep you safe, which is your subconscious mind trying to keep you safe. Don't go further, all that sort of stuff. But I mean, we all tackle it, don't we? And, when you were chatting to, part of building this confidence as well is, if all of us are just keeping ourselves small, something we talked about as well is the alpha male is trying to be able to, be able to stand in our power in that sense too, is have those people around. Do you want to talk a bit about that as well?
Absolutely. And I have a great example to give, which we didn't actually talk about, I don't think.
Okay.
So probably from about 18 to about 22, 23, I was involved in the other side to life. I was a criminal, I'm not going to lie. Stolen cars, I was in a gang, all that sort of stuff. I never did anything that I think was morally reprehensible. Anything I stole was from big business, and it was on a big scale. But I'll never forget this. So I was 19, crossing Grenfell Street on a Friday afternoon. About 3:30, 4 o'clock, shitloads of suits lining up at the bus stops, and there was two girls. One would have been about 10 and one would have been about 7, in a private school uniform, on just near Gawler Place. It was the bus stop just near Gawler Place. There was a homeless guy standing 8 feet away from him wanking.
Oh.
There was 30 men at the bus stop watching.
Oh my God.
Or pretending that it wasn't going on. I crossed the road, and this is me in my gangster days, but I crossed the road. First thing I did, put the wind up him. The homeless guy pissed off real quick. The girls instantly burst into tears and said, thank you so much. But then I turned around and I looked at those men and I said, you can't call yourselves men. How can you stand there and watch this? And me, I'm the one that has to come over it. I guarantee you, half of you got fucking kid. Oh, sorry.
That's all right. It's explicit. It's fine.
Yeah. And that was just an example there. I was lucky, apart from my father, who was, an abusive piece of shit. I've had some good role models around me who taught me about that. We have a job. As men, we have a job, and that is to look after kids and women. And it's not sexist or anything like that. Like this is how people flourish.
Yeah.
When children know that they're looked after and they're protected, they flourish. When women know that they're looked after and protected, they flourish. And this weird time in the world where we are now, where they are breaking down masculinity on every level, and even trying to make out that all masculinity is toxic. I mean, there are the song I'm dropping for Sebastian. There's a heap. This covers all of this, and that we need this again. We need these. We need alphas and sigmas. Now, when I'm talking, just sort of back and forth with you, you can just use the terminology alpha. I'm actually a sigma, which means that I don't need the validation from the other alphas.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of men sort of need to understand the difference, because there can still be toxic alphas. There's not a lot of them, but there is still toxic alphas. And true masculinity, we actually pull up the toxic pieces of shit. Like there's no doubt around that. All of us are fathers or are gonna be fathers, so we got kids. So we pull this behavior up. I mean, when I spent a lot of time through my life in footy locker rooms, played a shitload of footy, country footy and city footy. One thing that I never could connect with was, some of the toxic banter and behavior and the way that a portion of players would talk about women. Look, it's all right in a little sense in the locker room to objectify a little bit, but I could never connect with these guys on a real level, because listening to them, I'm just like, you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like you can't be like that.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's another thing, like you've just mentioned the footy too. Like, I mean, there's another life that you've lived. I mean, what are you, 6'5", I think you said six. And so, you're not a short guy and you played a lot of footy and, and you're really good at the sport too. I mean, that's another like part. I mean, that's the thing, like you've lived so many lives in this lifetime. And I think that's what's helped you, plus all the reading as well too. But do you want to talk a bit more about your footy and just some of the stuff there that you learned?
Sure. I was pretty talented. I made it as far as West Adelaide when I was 17, and then I blew my knee and I took a few years off. And then I made a choice to move back to the Eyre Peninsula after getting out of the nightclub scene. I'd burnt out through overindulgence, we'll say.
Yep.
And I made a decision to move back to the Eyre Peninsula, and I moved to a club called United Yolana. Best decision I've made so far in life. These were salt of the earth people that if you proved yourself and contributed and bought into the club, then they would literally give you anything that you needed at any time. But yeah, footy was very, very good to me as an adult. I didn't really start playing my best footy till I was 30. And then I was lucky I got picked in a number of association squads and played in the largest football carnival in Australia, which is called the Mortlock Shield. I played in that 4 times, I think. And that's a hell of an experience. They have, I think it's 8 associations have a team they send, and you play a heap of footy on the Saturday. We get Saturday night off and it's one big party. Sunday we all sleep and recover, and then the finals are on Monday. And it's an incredible experience. But footy's been very good to me. I've earned good money once I left Yolana. And I was lucky enough, actually, I want to mention that. I was lucky enough to be part of the first flag that Yolana won in 25 years. And that was just a next level experience. We were gods.
Yeah.
And the party went for a week. It was incredible.
Yeah.
But once I left Yolana, I played footy in the city, and all the boys that I was very close with said, you're not going to find the same thing. And it's very true. I bounced around clubs, 6 or 7 clubs in 5 or 6 years. It wasn't the same, but I was very lucky. I was earning good money. It's tax-free. Great. I met some great people that I'm still friends with, but country footy was at my heart. And, when I'm not going to bag any teams in the city, but, when you're in the change rooms after A grade and, you're playing in Div 2 or something, like second top tier division, and yet there's only a handful of guys that hang around for a beer, and then to me, footy wasn't just playing the game, because you're warriors out there. You're trying to kill each other.
Yeah.
And then, once you cross that line, then you're all mates again. And you should have it when you're being that sort of aggression towards each other. I think you need to have the other side to it as well, and have a beer and be like, yeah, I got you good this week. And it's like, don't worry, I'll get you next week. Like that duality.
Yeah, have the balance, the yin and the yang. Yeah, absolutely. Now, I mean, there's so many things that we can talk about. I don't even know where to go next. Tell me what is on your heart now. I'm just going to keep doing that.
I don't want to focus too much on negatives, but I do want to talk about this because I'm blown away with the amount of people I know with these cancers at the moment. I'm not old, and all these people are younger than me.
Yeah.
I just think it needs to be spoken about. I mean, the government's not going to do it, obviously. The health department's not going to do it, and the general public are afraid to talk about it. But it really saddens me that I was so friggin' right about the jab. Like, everyone around me, I tried to not force or anything like that, but just try and pass some knowledge across that maybe they should question this, and even if it means losing your job. And I don't have a very large circle, but I know, just in my circle, I know 6 people with these cancers. And the prognosis on a few of them is not good. And these are young, healthy people. Now, if I was 60, 65, it'd be a different story. I mean, look, cancer's big business. We all know that, and it's been around for a while, but it's not on the level that it is at the moment.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Do you feel like with this, I mean, everyone's made a decision at a soul level, perhaps before they've come in here, and that I guess we have free will to choose at any point. We can make a different choice. Do you feel like part of it is a soul choice by these people that in this lifetime, because we know we have many lifetimes, that to choose that path, and then perhaps in another lifetime choose different? Do you think there's that part of it as well?
There's an analogy of the system that 80% of the population don't have the cognitive dissonance to question. And I think the system really needs that large portion of society to do as they're told, and whatever happens. I think that's how it works. Like, and that's not me being like judgy or negative towards these people. It's just that they genuinely aren't built to be able to go, well, hang on, just because of the way the system is.
And you touched on it as well. Like, it's the cognitive dissonance. It is a big deal for a lot of to question one thing. You and I both know that then that creates like so many rabbit holes and so many other things, because it's like a domino effect, and it affects like everything, like literally everything in the whole world. So not everyone is ready for that or wants to consider that that's even an option. Would you think that too?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's a great scene when Neo gets, ejected from his battery hub, and then he wakes up and they pick him out of the sewers. That's genuinely what it's like. When like, once the glasses come off, pretty much everything they taught us was a lie. And that it is very confronting.
Yeah.
And for some people, I totally understand even just learning a bit and going, nah, that's too much for me.
Yeah.
And no judgment there. Like, we're all different, but yeah, I think that, I mean, you can look at the Matrix and you can apply a great deal to where we are and how we are. I mean, I have my own perspective. I think this is the 4th or 5th reiteration that, civilization is built up to. A way of describing it I've found that really, really helps people to get where I'm coming from. Say there was a great flood, say like the Noah situation. Say there was a great flood. Do you know how to build an iPhone? Do I know how to build a microwave? Do I know how to build a microphone? Now, of course, if a number of engineers or that sort of thing survive, then maybe. But if enough people are wiped out, then enough skill and knowledge is wiped out, and we literally go back to the Stone Age. We go back to having spears and chasing deer, and I don't think it's that hard to imagine that that's how the cycles work. I mean, like you say, we have so many lives, and how is it that when you meet someone and we call them an old soul, clearly they've been in a reiteration before. To me, it makes more sense than we're just on this rock and it's just been doing this for this long and we've been here for this long. And that's all there is. Like, to me, that sounds ludicrous. There's so much magic in life that there has to be more magic behind it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There is so much magic in life. And that's the thing. And none of us can possibly know everything. I mean, at one level we do, like at some point, at the very point of start of consciousness, however that is, we know everything. But right now we're all these individual experiences of the one, having these experiences and living life differently, learning differently, having different perspectives. I mean, we're all seeing out our own eyes, seeing out our own experiences and all that sort of stuff. I mean, there's just so much. And, you saying as well, like, I mean, obviously everything is happening now too. Like, everything is happening in this moment. So even the floods, even the whatever's happened before is happening now. Like, even this experience is us having an experience of time. And, who knows what we go into next? Like, if we woken up in this game, do we go to another game next shot? Like, is this the crescendo of this game and then we choose the next one? I don't know. Who knows? Like, it's exciting to ponder though, isn't it?
It is. And I mean, to me, time's just a construct that, we've used to justify a lot of the systems that math and all of that are based around. Time's not linear, and our experience isn't either. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I have a feeling, and I've had some incredibly connected influx of feeling and knowledge that I've got a good idea afterwards that it's a great experience, and that the human experience is just one part of that. Because we are capable. We are capable of anything. I mean, we've all heard the stories, and now that there's a camera everywhere, there's a car crash and the car's on a kid. The mum lifts the car off the kid. Where does she get that from? Now they'll say, oh, it's the mother's instinct, all of that. It's got nothing to do with her gender or sex or anything like that. It's the potential. The potential's in us. It's just whether we can tap into it. And everything that we're indoctrinated with from the injections we get from 6 months old, right through the education system, right through your career, all of that tells you that you're not that, that you're not capable of that. And I want to help sort of tear the shackles off for some people. As I said before, though, it's not for everyone. That 80% needs to keep the system moving, but get me that 20%, get me their ears, get me around them. If I can help and through my suffering that I've grown from, if I can help anyone with that, like, I'm sort of jumping around here. I was a men's rights activist for a number of years. And if I'd known what I know now, my family court case would have definitely gone differently. But look, that's what it is. But for a number of years, I helped quite a few fathers with their situations with knowledge. Like, here's one for you. And I don't understand why this isn't shared more. In Australia, it's very, very easy to get an intervention order. And it's very, very easy to get it without any evidence whatsoever. It's purely statement-based. Now, if the police ever turn up to your door with an intervention order, if you don't say, I do not consent, You have to say that specifically. If you don't say that, you will not have the right to defend it in court. It gets served, and the only person who can revoke it is the person who applied. It's insanity. It is, and like that was a big thing that I say to. Now I know it. I'm not trying to focus on gender or anything like this, but I'm a man, and I've had an experience where I wish other men had helped me with this knowledge. I want to be that guy for a lot of people, and I think that this I do not consent. I think every boy should be told that at like 12 or 13. First, obviously, they need to be taught boundaries and all that sort of thing. But I think they need to be told that because, I mean, we're supposed to be living in a free society. That is such a joke. Australia is so totalitarian already, and people are delusional. If someone can get, and an intervention order can ruin your entire life, but if someone can get a document without any evidence whatsoever that is enforced by the biggest gang there is, and yet the information on how to tackle that, no one shares anything, I do not consent. They are the words you need to say. And what was really interesting was when they came to serve me mine, the cops were shocked. They're like, this is going to go a bit different. I went, yeah, it is. And I'm having my day in court. And I beat it, and it was revoked because it was absolute garbage. But it can ruin a life. And the problem is mud sticks.
Yeah.
As you can probably tell, I get a bit passionate about this.
I love it.
Yeah. There are some big holes in how we, across the board with the system, but definitely how we deal with our kids and separation in Australia and worldwide. That it's really sad, but it's actually part of the agenda and the attack on masculinity, because you take a father out of the household, the statistics speak for themselves. 65% of people who have been incarcerated come from single parent homes. I think that number's actually gone up now. Same with offending, same with and suicide. Oh my God. Yeah. I don't want to get bogged down too much on this negative though. I think I've said what I've needed to say about that. I think we can move on.
Yeah, no, but that's good. I think it needs to be brought to the table though, Ben, because it is important. And even you saying that, I mean, I remember a time, obviously, when everything started 4 years ago, even on an energetic level, people were saying, I do not consent to what was going on. And our words have power, our intention has power. So the fact that you've even planted that seed for people to know, I think is really powerful. And, it's not negative in this. We can't dance around things either. It's important to share knowledge. So I think anyone who's sort of tapped in and listened now and they might want some sort of like, oh, can I have a conversation with this guy? I need to know more. Isn't that great? We've now been able to put that out into the ether. So that's awesome.
I do want to add one thing to it though.
Yeah, do it.
And this is my advice to anyone.
Yeah.
Do whatever you can to stay out of the family court system.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes. Do whatever it takes to find some amicable way to get on with the ex.
Yeah.
Stay out of it, because it's purely designed to shift your money into the lawyer's pockets.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
And to traffic children.
Yes.
But that's on a deeper level again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the thing, like when you were talking about the children before, they are the most important thing. We are here to make sure that they have the best lives ever. These kids are amazing. And like you just touched on, the trafficking, all that sort of stuff, it is going on. And so, and people know that and they're aware. And so, sometimes people might feel like, well, what can I do? But obviously doing what you can do from your standpoint, whatever it looks like for you, just being aware of what's going on and being a good person, as simple as that sounds, but being able to be there for others to listen, just to hear what they've got to say, paying attention. I mean, there's so many different things we can do, isn't there?
Being your authentic self, that's exactly right. I mean, that is actually more powerful than anything.
Yeah.
When you're you, that affects everything around you positively. And that then attracts what it attracts. It brings in more opportunity. It brings in more people that, may need your guidance. And it's all about your acceptance of who you are. And that is so powerful. I mean, I've to be honest, I'm a late bloomer with this because I'm really only just settling in now.
Yeah, I feel you, man. I feel you, but how good does it feel? Like you wouldn't change it or trade it for the world, for the knowledge that you have, for the feeling, like the love that you have for yourself. And it's not that airy fairy, oh, I love myself. It's like, no, I love and trust myself. And, this is what you see is what you get. And I'm being me, and and that will repel some people, and it will some people will just like want to flock around, but you know that you're standing in your truth. And I think that that's what's so important, and it is about accepting yourself on all levels, because none of us are bloody perfect and live these bloody amazing never made a F up in our lives, like with
Instagram lives.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So it's loving all parts of yourself, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, that's where the acceptance really comes in, because you can accept the good stuff really easily.
Yeah.
You can take that on all day.
Yeah.
It's accepting the shit, the mistakes you've made, the things you wish, and I mean, I think regret's a wasted emotion, or remorse or anything like that. Like, you have to, all the dirt has to be accepted as well as all the light. Again, we go to that duality. But when that happens, again, it's just so powerful, because things like shit will always happen.
Yeah.
It's how you respond to it. And things get so much easier when you're like, I'm pretty cool with who I am.
Yeah.
And I'm powerful with that. It's a great shit strainer too, because a lot of people who, probably aren't going to be very helpful to your existence, it really gets up them when they come across someone who's comfortable in their skin.
Yeah.
Oh, they can't stand it.
Yeah.
And I love that. I really love that.
Yeah, you're going to grind some gears, that's for sure. But it's like and I think too, like as you evolve, you notice it as well. Like even when you're in it, you're on another frequency, and you can see that you're not on the same frequency anymore with people you might have known for a long time, or just that sort of stuff. And you kind of, you can't go. And it's not like anyone is better or worse, just obviously at all, but you're just on a different level. And it's like you're talking to like Swahili,
Yeah, well, your frequency has shifted.
Yeah.
And just speaking from purely a sound perspective, which you'll understand, certain frequencies, they will not go together.
No, that's it. It's so true. It's so true. Oh, where can we go from here? Yeah, you go.
Sorry.
No, go.
Had an incredible Saturday. So didn't really have plans. Just me and the partner were going to be in the garden and just enjoying the sunshine. But I got a very early text saying, "Oh, I'm Crook. Do you want to mix a show tonight?" And I went, "Yeah, what is it?" And he went, "Oh, it's a rap show at the Ancestral." And I went, "Fuck yeah."
Yeah.
And then I found out it was Posse Shot, who are Australian legends, and then DOA and some locals, Goobsy and Kirby, supporting them. And it was an incredible opportunity. And it was so cool because I've been performing at, some open mic nights and done a few shows here and there, but it was really good to be around the scene and be mixing, such a high profile show. And Posse Shot tore the roof off. It was so good by the end. I mean, you don't see crowd surfing anywhere anymore. And a couple of the boys from Posse Shot are getting carried around the room. And
in the back room of the Austral.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And it was so interesting because it was Pride March on Saturday, and the Austral was holding a Pride event as well. So out the front, you had the Pride crowd, and out the back, you had the hardcore underground hip hop crowd. And they meshed fine. Like people who aren't part of either of those groups might go, oh, that's never gonna be okay. And it was great. It was fantastic. It was such a good night.
Yeah.
I'm still sort of buzzing from it now. Like I was really honoured to mix the show and be a part of it from that perspective.
Oh, that's so cool. Don't you just love it when you have no expectations of a day and just like all of a sudden you're just open to possibility and then just something amazing happens? Like, just love it. I just love it. That's so cool. That would have been an awesome night.
It was, absolutely. And for me also, I had one beer.
Yeah.
Everyone knows I don't mind a beer.
Yeah.
But I used to, I can admit I have had times where I did drink too much. I'm nowhere not like that anymore, but it was, to do it stone cold sober was something I would have been afraid of.
Yeah.
Even 12 months ago, I don't think I would have been in the mindset to be able to do that stone cold sober. And now I've leveled up with the acceptance, and so my abilities have leveled up as well.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I mean, if you're mixing a show, you shouldn't be pissed.
No. Yeah, you might think it sounds good. Yeah. Been there, done that.
Yeah, well, you've been in bands your whole life, so
yeah,
I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, those beer, when you get paid in beer and not mullah. But I feel my sense is that you'll probably you'll end up not drinking at all soon. Because I mean, I don't drink anymore either, and it's just like. Yeah, and I love going to a gig. Like I love drum and bass as well, and I'll go out and have a dance and just like but yeah, getting older now too, so I like my early nights.
I feel that, to be honest, I still enjoy a drink. I don't enjoy really anything around who that person is when I'm influenced by alcohol, though. I'm not a bad person. I'm not a bad drunk or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it's definitely getting, I pick when I'm going to drink now, and then I don't sort of drink in between at all.
Yeah.
Because it is, it is a mass way of control that they've used over society for so long. It's a depressant, it lowers your frequency on such a level.
Yeah. Yeah. And then when
how weird is it that society judges you when you say you don't drink? When you meet, you see where people say, oh, I don't drink. What, you don't drink at all? What, not even a beer? And people judge them. Yeah. It's so bizarre.
It is. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I know when I was a drinker, I'm like, oh, you don't drink. And now it's the opposite. It's sort of like, it's so interesting. But I mean, it's so good not to have a hangover. That feels good. And also too, like if you drink too much, like people will say, oh, you weren't yourself last night. Well, that's when the entities can come in and, take you on a joyride. Like, we're not just our meat and bones here. There's so much more going on. So being aware of that is important too, I think.
Absolutely. And then, you wake up and you think, geez, I wouldn't have said that, or I wouldn't have done that. Who was that?
Yeah. It's very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so glad your Saturday rocked out. That's amazing. There is something that I've got written down. I would love to go here if you feel like it, because you shared a bit with me about the Ned Kelly thing. Like, do you want to talk about
very
that?
Happy to share that. So after my grandfather passed away, who I was very close with, my grandparents, they had a huge influence on my upbringing. He was a very, very knowledgeable man. He was a politician, an auto engineer, a Sigma who took no shit. When he actually resigned from politics, his specific wording was, I can no longer take the media manipulation. And that was in the 90s. Anyway, after he passed away, I went to my nana and asked her about, what do you want me to do with his office? And she's like, oh, you can go through it, and pretty sure there's something he's been working on. You can have it if you can find it. So I was intrigued and went through and found this clipboard with documents ranging from 100 to 150 years old. And I was sort of, straight away, I was like, there's something here. Like, there's no one sources these sort of documents that are incredibly hard to find, when they're that old. for no reason. And it synchronistically happened to be just after I'd finished reading what I would say was the best Ned Kelly biography that really explained a lot of the movements through Victoria when they were on the run. And I started reading some typed pages that was underneath these old documents. And it was talking about properties that my family, my grandfather's family, they owned. And it all lined up. And then I was sitting there going, wait, Beechworth then. And it all lined up. I'm like, wait, what? Every time they were on the run and they needed a place to hide out, they were hiding out on my family's property. And it was incredible. When it hit, I was like, wow, that is awesome. And it makes so much sense. Like within the lineage of my family, there is an anti-establishment part of the DNA that has shone through in a number of situations that you just wouldn't believe. Like, yeah, again, Grandpa being an independent politician. I remember when Pauline Hanson was. Now, this is really interesting because these days I don't actually mind what on a lot of things Pauline's got to say. Again, controlled opposition, but I remember. Oh, excuse me. I remember that was a smoothie burp. That was.
Yeah. Which I've been drinking, by the way. But yeah, keep going.
Yeah, the mayor of Port Lincoln. This is going on a tangent, but fine. The mayor of Port Lincoln went on TV and said. Pauline Hanson is more than welcome in Port Lincoln anytime. She'll be looked after, blah, blah, blah. I was sitting next to my grandfather when he saw that on TV. That was it. Jumped in the car. I was allowed to come. And he went hunting for the mayor, Peter Davis, and they found each other in the front street and they had it out. Grandpa was he was a very accepting man and would not tolerate racism in any way, shape, or form. He was very close with the Johncock family, so Graham's parents and grandparents. And I really don't know why I went on this tangent.
Well, you were talking about your grandpa, Ned Kelly. Staying on
then the anti-establishment vibe.
Anti-establishment, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And that was a story that went off. Your tangents are great. Tangents are great. So that is just, I mean, it's just another story and part to your grandpa who obviously, wouldn't take any shit. And the family and the family lineage of people supporting people doing the right thing that might not be the right thing in some eyes and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some very interesting intersections of history through just my lineage. I probably don't want to go into it too much. I don't think. I think that's sort of for me. Maybe I'll probably through my music.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And you really are so well read. And another thing, like we'll just, with your smoothie burp right there, you know a lot about herbs, you know a lot about what helps our body tick and all that sort of stuff. Do you want to talk a bit about that?
Absolutely. So I've been drinking, I think it's about 12 years I've been doing it. Specifically, it was around information that I kept finding across multiple sources referencing ancient civilizations that had absolutely no contact with each other, or that we know of. I mean, who knows, they might have traded with each other. But the combination of fresh ginger, cinnamon quill, and real honey has been used for millennia. And so I built, through my own research, I built a smoothie around that. And the vitality that you get, I mean, it's so simple, and yet I love, because as I'm preparing it, I say thank you to each of the ingredients, because I've found that I get more out of my smoothie if I'm very thankful for it. But something else I really, really enjoy, those ingredients at certain times through history ruled the world. Like the cinnamon trade at one stage, to have a cinnamon quill in your kitchen, You had to be a king or a queen or something like that. And I really enjoy the fact that I'm at a time where I can put all of these together and I can have that every single day.
Mm. Mm.
And you, I mean, you yourself, you've been doing it for a couple of weeks now. Do you
Mm.
feel better? Do you feel different? Like I'm
Yes.
interested to see.
Yeah, and it was and the cayenne pepper as well. Did you say that as
That's
well?
yeah,
Yeah.
cayenne pepper. That's really, really good for your heart and your brain function. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. I've missed a few days this last few days, but otherwise it's been great. It's sort of like a hit of something almost like because it's really it's very powerful, but you feel it in your body, don't you? And it just yeah, you feel like you're doing a good thing for your body.
Mm.
Absolutely. Mm.
And why would these civilizations record this
Mm.
through so many different parts of history if there was nothing to it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and simple things like that, like our, we're pushed again through our indoctrination, all the rest of it. We're pushed away from our connection with the land
Mm.
and what the land does provide for us. And I mean, that's all we really need. I
Yeah.
mean, pharmaceuticals. There's not one pharmaceutical that there isn't an alternative. Like, I've got this book. Actually, Tina's got it at the moment,
Mm.
which is our wonderful chiropractor. Hey, Tina, thank you very much for linking us up. There's a book called Australian Medicinal Herbs, and it's a collation of information from Aboriginal sources.
Mm.
It's incredible. It is absolutely incredible. They had, I mean, and this is what really shits me about what we see in museums as a depiction of the Aboriginal culture. It's a fucking insult to be honest. I mean, they have a few dot paintings, which dot paintings were invented by a teacher in 71, I think. You actually look through Aboriginal history and there's no dot paintings. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But there is a few dot paintings. There might be like a net and a few spears, and that's it. Not anywhere do they touch on their extensive medical knowledge, and it's not just a little bit. Like I've just got one book that collates, you know, that two guys went around and collated over like 10 years, and that's just one little part of it. And yet they have a remedy for everything.
Yeah.
Absolutely everything. And it saddens me, you know. I can understand why Aboriginal people are so angry. Oh, sorry, that's a real generalization. I don't mean that like that, but I can understand why there would be anger, especially towards the Australian government. Excuse me, because they depict them as, you know, savages who knew nothing, when really it's the complete opposite. Like I think they're probably them and the American Indians had the understanding we should all strive for. Their connection with the land and their environments and their spiritual experience. That's where we should be heading, as far as I'm concerned. That we should be spending all our time researching how they did it, and I genuinely believe we could move ourselves forward in a much better way. I mean, what sort of a chance do we have where 2/3 of the world's existence is put into war? Like, we are the resistance, and so we have to be the positive ones. But you look at it, like 2/3 of money and expenditure is put into the defense industry and the war machine. And it's really easy to look it up, but just the billions and trillions of dollars that we spend. I mean, what does that do to an existence, a race, a creed, whatever you want to call it? Like, what does that do to it when that's what the focus is? Imagine if we did that, but in a positive light. Like, we'd be all living our absolute truest existence, and we wouldn't be living in these square boxes full of, you know, electricity. I guarantee you that much. We'd be living out in the forest, and, you know, we'd be a much happier, and our experience would be able to connect with, you know, the collective conscious, you know, just like that, rather than having to, go through meditation and that sort of thing and training yourself. We'd just be able to go like that. Imagine that experience. Like, as you can tell, it gets me a little bit excited.
No, absolutely. I love it. And that's the thing, though. Our imagination is the most powerful thing. So when enough of us imagine what it is supposed to be like and how good it can get, we have that power to shift that. And, we know what's been going on. We know that we've been trying to keep kept in a box and not realize our power. But when enough of us do, I feel like it's game over. And I feel like it's happening anyway. Like, do you feel like moving forward that more and more this snowball effect is going to happen? I mean, I know still we live in a world of duality, so we still will have that ebb and flow and that balance. But what do you see for the future coming? What's your take on it all?
We did talk about this. Look, I'm not at all a pessimist. I'm a positive person, but I believe that we just need to keep doing what we do, and it'll turn. How it turns, I don't know. I have an idea that there are off-world influence. So I don't necessarily think that we will sort of level up as a race. But then I also know that we are completely capable of that. For me, it's just knowing in myself that I am part of that resistance to it, and that we can be better. That's what I know, and that's what I know I can do, and that's what I focus on. Because I've got friends who on all edges of the coin with this, and each to their own with it. I mean, I'm jealous of people that think that we're going to break the shackles. I don't think that the systems are so ingrained at the moment. That's just my take. I love the fact that people think we're going to break that off. I mean, to be honest, there's 3,000 people that rule the world, and there's 8 billion of us. It really wouldn't be that hard. I mean, if we really, if we actually, the momentum shifted and people went, who cares what, the TV's going to say? And we actually went and found those 3,000 and threw them in a volcano or something and went, right, let's just reset it. That would be great. I mean, we're totally capable of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I don't know. I don't want to come across as being, not positive about it, but I just know that I'll fight regardless of whether we're going to win.
Oh, of course.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the thing, though. Like, and that's one thing that I did, notice with you. Like, you're like a true Sigma Alpha. Like, I know that you would like in an instant. Like, I knew straight away. Like, you're the type of person that would just not take any shit and would protect and fight to the death if it needed to happen. And I think that's so powerful and so beautiful. And, personally, I mean, none of us have a crystal ball. What I do know is exactly what we were talking about earlier, is that the power really lies within each of us. And so all we can do is do what we can do individually. And then it doesn't make the world look like it doesn't become so overwhelming, because you can't change out there. That's like trying to change what you see in the mirror. You can't do that. You have to change within. You have to begin within, and that's where the power lies. And I think that's what each of us can do. And however the game plays out, if we know that we've stood in our truth, if we've been authentic, if we've been who we are, if we've done everything that we can do, then we've kind of won the game anyway. Don't you think?
100%. 100% agree with you there.
Yeah.
You reminded me of something. I have been that guy that's acted through my life, and I've seen a few things that I've sort of seen the integrity or lack of integrity of certain people. I like the fact that it's just an instinctual thing for me. I don't think, like, I remember we were involved in a multiple car accident when I was about 20. And I'd managed to avoid the 3 cars that had crashed. And we pulled over and obviously jumped out to like help the other people. And one of the cars had hit a tree and it was still running. There was fuel everywhere and the driver was out cold over the wheel. Now, everyone was standing well back because it was very obvious that the car was very close to blowing up. No one would go near it. And it wasn't even a thought process in my head. I didn't even know this person.
Yeah.
And yet I went and dragged him out. And I tell you what, standing in that fuel with that car turning over, I can genuinely tell you that was the most scared I've ever been. I really did think I was going to die, but I didn't. It didn't stop me. And I mean, that actually, to me, is my perspective on whether you've done a good job as a parent. If you can instill that love into your child for other people, even if you don't know them,
Yeah.
then I think you've done the right job. I mean, obviously, you can save a bad person. So what? You know,
Yeah.
Whether they do bad things after that, that's got nothing to do with you. It's about you. And I genuinely think that if you can instill that, I mean, because I got that from my mother and my grandparents, that love for people, because there isn't enough of it. Like
Yeah.
and it's not hard. Well, to me, it's not hard. Like we're all here. Color, creed, all of that doesn't matter. People get so caught up in this bullshit divisiveness that they don't see that it's classism. There's those 3,000, and then there's everyone else, and all the issues that they manipulate us with are purely just to divide us. That's all they are. Because our color doesn't matter. All of that doesn't matter. We're all just one entity. And that's the other thing. People don't realize that we're all joined. And podcasts like yours, you're doing a wonderful job there of lifting the frequency, but also informing people that, hang on, no, we are all connected.
Yeah.
And it does make a difference.
Yeah. Everything we do makes a difference. Everything we do. And I love that you shared that story. I'm so with you. You actually reminded me, that big intersection where Channel 7 is, and the brewery and everything. I was coming home with friends one time and going down Port Road, and a car came and just did like the big thing, hit another car. I did the same thing as you. Your instinct kicks in. You're like, holy shit, this guy came running out of his car and he's about to fall down. Next minute, I've got his shaved head in my hand, just going, what's your name? What's your name? Like, I've never been a bloody ambo or anything like that, but you just like have to, and he was sort of out of it, but your instinct kicks in, doesn't it? You just go, okay, and then afterwards you'll think about it, but that's your job as a human, to help other humans. And obviously you don't want to put yourself in harm's way, but something just kicks in, doesn't it? Yeah.
And it saddens me that our indoctrination specifically targets that so much, because we're wonderful.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? All of us are. And we're so capable of incredible beauty in whatever form that might be for the individual. I've really enjoyed this chat already.
Yeah, me too, mate. I was just thinking that. This has been a perler. Well, we've been talking for quite a while now, so what I might do is, before we wrap up, A, is there anything else you want to share? And then B, how can people find you and connect with you? Can you share that with everyone, please?
Absolutely. So my Instagram is Noetiks Official. So Noetiks Official. Same with my TikTok, although I haven't really started using that enough yet. Hit me up through that mostly. I'm on Spotify, YouTube. YouTube's the same. That's Noetiks Official. It's all, so I haven't really got that much content at the moment, but it is all about to really explode. I've worked very hard. I've got a lot of music. I've got to shoot a number of videos now because I've got all this music as well.
Yeah.
But I do want to cover, so I've got something very cool, which I did invite you to, and hopefully, maybe you'll be able to come along with your partner as well. But I'm building a team of creatives, and that covers musicians, producers, MCs, graffiti artists. Just inside of me is this passion of linking up people and seeing what happens. Because I've really embraced my creativity, I love in immersing myself in that. And so in a couple of weeks, we're having a party / barbecue, where I've invited such a range of creatives. It just occurred to me one day, I'm like, when you go to a party, normally there's a handful of creatives, and why not have a whole party of them? And then see what happens.
Yeah.
I'll have the studio set up, and I mean, it won't be expectation to make music, but I guarantee there'll be music made. I guarantee, because when you get these sort of people together, I love watching it. I love being a part of it myself, and I'm, as a producer, I'm quite confident at leading it, but also I love just sitting back and watching, and that's people in their most authentic space. Where especially musicians and producers and rappers and that sort of thing, like when they're happy and just flowing and feeling it, like the whole place, the whole frequency lifts. And for me, that's a type of drug I can get around.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, Ben, it has been so bloody awesome chatting to you today. You're an absolute champion. I'm going to thank you. And while I'm thanking you, I'm going to thank you at home for tuning in. I hope you have loved this chin wag as much as I know we both have. As always, subscribe, leave a comment. Always love hearing from you. Share it with anyone you think might like this episode as well too. But thank you so much for being here. And Ben, just thank you again for sharing your heart, your wisdom, and your soul with all of us today.
Thank you very much for having me, Narita. It's wonderful to link with you, and you keep doing what you're doing, because you're definitely making a difference.
Oh, thanks, mate.